I see many people being all interested and crazy about this interview, and as one of them I didn't find an original translation, so I tried my best to deliver all these different sources that I found on the internet, on Twitter, on Japanese forums and more. So I think it won't be probably the whole interview, or actually it may differ a little about the actual info, but I think it's something really interesting because there's a lot of ideas here. And first of all, Fujimoto said that about part 2 he has an idea in general about what to do with it, but he wants to unfold this story of part 1 into a completely different story. So for this school chapter we gotta think about what kind of high school life Denji will receive if he didn't receive any kind of education before. So we should probably be ready for a lot of changes for part 2 of the manga. Personally, I think maybe they could change and making Denji a bit more mature and getting maybe tired of being a hero. But it's just a theory, so let's continue with the interview. Fujimoto also said that the design of Denji, being a very simple and straightforward character, was due to the format of how he's published the manga in the magazine. He said he needed this in order to keep a main character that even in the worst situations could be able to keep advancing. So while Denji began his road from having nothing until receiving the help from Makima, and enjoying an average life, meeting new friends, falling in love and all those things that he dreamed of, he really needs extra motivation to keep advancing with all the random twists that Fujimoto adds throughout the story, and that is why he said that he needed him to be like this, and it's very understandable. Fujimoto during the interview also is clear about part 2 maybe having some parallelism with his previous manga Fire Punch, where we see that he works a lot with the concept of a person who is forced to take the role of a hero and a savior, and Fujimoto describes this as the horror of being worshipped as an idol. So he describes this kind of hero as someone who has plenty of flaws and is always sad. Even if he's able to save lives, he's not perfect. And that is why Fujimoto also reveals that somehow he likes the DC comic heroes because he enjoys people who lack something and he feels that they have more flaws and problems. And this different attribute of being able to save lives is something that won't allow the person to live normally. And in the end, if we analyze the story, Denji was able to defeat Makima in the end for having flaws and for having that depressive loving behavior towards her. Fujimoto says that he imagined the main line of the story of Chainsaw Man with something very similar to the movie Murder Green Toe. Although I couldn't find the original name of the movie, when I google Murder Green Toe I don't find anything. I just get the Green Mile movie written by Stephen King, but I'm not sure if it is the one. But let's continue talking about the movie that I don't know which it is yet. He said that after finishing it, the movie makes you think, what the hell was this movie talking about? It seems like it solved something, but actually it didn't solve anything. And probably the answer is that everything is just meaningless at all. And he said that during his work on Chainsaw Man, even the editors and assistants were like, Fujimoto-sensei, you're not being serious. What are you trying to do? But even doing this, he was able to make the main character grow up and establish Chainsaw Man as a story with a lot of chaos. I think that one extra detail that I'd like to add to this interview is that I found out that the hand of the Darkness Devil that appears in a giant size when it sends everyone to hell, it has some kind of box around it and it's a reference to an old movie. This movie is called Un Chien Andalou, made by Luis Buñuel, and it's a silent and surrealist short film from 1929. And I think if we analyze this movie, we see that it's really hard to understand what it refers to. So I think Fujimoto is really interested in these kinds of topics where you kind of show something that it doesn't really have an actual explanation. It's something more that makes you kind of think and have some deep thoughts about what it could mean. So back to the interview. One extra fact to add from this is that the original name of Denji was supposed to be Angel because of his fight against the devils, and Fujimoto later decided to change it into Denji, that I think it resembles danger. I'm not sure about this part of the translation. So one point in favor to the theory of the Chainsaw Man being an archangel. I made a video talking about these religious topics inside Chainsaw Man, so be sure to check this video description because I will add a link to this video talking about the reference to Christianity inside Chainsaw Man. Fujimoto said that the Chainsaw Man design was based on the theme of using something that is actually made used to be utilized, like a tool, and he said that is the reason of why the other devil hybrids are all tools, like weapons like spears, bombs, or a katana. And also it's the meaning of why the devil of Makima is actually a control devil, because she's using everyone just as tools for her own goals. So Fujimoto-sensei says that part 1 was about Denji becoming a complete person throughout a process of liberation from his past trauma together with getting over of what Makima did to him. Fujimoto himself said that he watched a documentary of an orphanage just to imagine how someone in the situation version of Denji could react to different scenarios. And on volume 10, Denji said to Makima that he wanted to be her dog, because since he went over the trauma of losing so many companions, he couldn't accept this reality and he wanted to give up. So being under control could make him feel relaxed and receive kindness to be able to feel happy at least. It's a way that Fujimoto wanted to reflect a phenomenon that happens not only in Japan but in the world, that creates a social structure that governs exploitation. Fujimoto doesn't really consider this as something bad because people might be able to survive working in these kinds of systems. You won't have plenty of changes in your lifestyle. It's not completely unfortunate, but also it's not good. That's what he wanted to show during the first episode of Chainsaw Man, when Denji was very comfy with Pochita just being in that status quo while they were at extreme poverty fighting against devils in order to pay their debt. But sadly, in this kind of situation, you don't really get the chance to keep moving forward, and it's something that he really wanted to highlight. About Denji and his relationship with Makima, Fujimoto said that since Denji wasn't satisfied with this kind of life that I was talking before, he was releasing his desires slowly. He fell in love at first sight with Makima because she was the first person to be gentle to him, and he felt an infinite love towards her because she's the person who made him have actually a destiny. And these feelings don't change even if he knows that her real attempt was to hurt him actually. The love that Denji feels is similar to a love for a parent, more than a romantic love. That is something that really confuses the fandom, even including myself here, because I really thought that he was in love with her before. So he explains this metaphor in the name of Makima. If we check the name of Makima in Japanese, it's writing like this. I'm showing the characters on the screen. And Fujimoto wanted to use this as some sort of metaphor about cutting the tree in the middle. The tree that is that character that I'm showing. This character resembles a little to a tree if you see it. So when you cut this tree in the middle with the shenso, the remaining word is actually the word mother in Japanese. So it is a way to show that Makima is indeed a motherly figure for Denji. There's also information about the early days of Fujimoto. He said that he used to watch a lot of Western movies because he had a rental shop nearby in his city. It was probably because the store manager liked a lot the Western movies. So our beloved mangaka used to rent them since 2nd and 3rd grade of elementary school. He said that the price for renting new movies was too expensive, so he was used to watch the old works that could be borrowed cheaply. About how he watches movies, he says that he repeats a lot the scenes that he was interested in. As an example of this, one time he said he watched a scene that showed a lost expression from the rules that he had in his mind, something that he really considers fascinating. And that is probably why he wanted to make Chainsaw Man loyal to this, and is what makes the manga feel different from other one, because he seems to always seek those kind of lost expressions that really make his job feel very original inside the industry. While he talks about this rental movie shop, he said that he considers Neon Genesis Evangelion an amazing anime. And I'm not sure, but he also told, I saw a post days ago of someone saying that he was a fan of Shin Channel, so I'm not sure if it's from the Rolling Stone interview, so I don't know. Another part of the interview describes how the work with his assistants helped him to improve a lot in his own manga. He said that when Yuhi Kaku, his assistant and creator of Jigokuraku, started his manga, he enjoyed it so much that he wanted to draw as well as him and create an interesting story. And the same happens today with the new manga of Yukinobu Tatsu, his other assistant that is now the creator of Dandadan, a very promising new gen manga. And I'm also a huge fan of Dandadan. I won't lie to you, I'm planning to make a video about it. So there's this kind of relationship of friends that at the same time they're co-workers and rivals, which are making amazing manga, and they are all very close to each other. And that is why he says that using this kind of relationship between them has helped him a lot to improve his work. And he even said that he feels pressure sometimes, because he said that Yukinobu Tatsu is probably the best drawing of the three of them, and he's always amazed by his manga panels. And we're on the final part on this video now, and this part is about Fujimoto describing his manga. He said that it's a work based on the three major desires. He said that he wanted to describe these three major desires throughout the story, and we can see that he did especially great at this. So these three desires are, first, the sexual desire, and we can see many scenes throughout the story describing how sexually insatiable is Denji, the main character. The second desire is the desire for sleep, and Fujimoto said that this one is represented with Denji having bad dreams and nightmares. And the third one is the appetite. Fujimoto said that he feels that he made eating appear until the end of the manga. And it's funny because we can see how he made this when turning Makima into literally the best meal ever in the end of the story. He also said that he wanted to make Denji as a main character in contrast to herbivorous boys. Fujimoto felt that before Chainsaw Man there were too many herbivorous boys that are, in short terms, they are like boys that don't really seem to have sexual attraction to girls in the story, so he felt that there weren't many characters in contrast to this, so he wanted to make Denji the completely opposite to this. And as I said before, we can see how insatiable sexually is Denji, so he's really actually the completely opposite from everyone else in the industry. So the root of Chainsaw Man was born from that concept, and the manga in general is a work that seems to attempt to portray humanistics and desires in general. And now for the end. I think I said before it was the end, but I was wrong. My script was very bad written, so this is actually the end of this video, and I will talk about Kuveni and some other interesting spoils for part 2 on the future of the manga. Shihei Lin, the editor of Chainsaw Man, confirmed that Fujimoto already shows which one will be the devil of Kuveni. He said that he heard about it, but he prefers not to know about it. And he also said that Fujimoto doesn't draw still about it, but he might reveal it in a future story. Wait, did I just say about it like 4 times? So our beloved editor explained us that Fujimoto already has the story made for the explanation about the weapon hybrids and also the 4 horsemen. And he wanted to explain it during part 1, but he said that he couldn't find the perfect situation to explain it, so we should be hyped about this because maybe in the future we might get to know more about them, who they are and how they were made. By the way guys, I'm working on a Kuveni analysis with a lot of original ideas and theories for next week, so stay tuned to my channel for more because more and more. More Chainsaw Man content is ready to be delivered. And this is all the info I could gather around the internet about this interview with many sources, and I hope that I got as close as I could to the original source. And hopefully in the future someone will translate it for us, the fandom, but meanwhile I think it's cool to have this info. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and as I always say guys, thank you and see you soon.